On this night, June 6th at 6 p.m., I give you my movie review for...
Welcome to the horror show! You realize there is nowhere to run! Don't know, came to fight! Paranoia is getting alive!
The Omen. The 1976 classic. This is my 666th movie review, and god damn is it deserving of that title. The plot. Was it an accident that these odd phenomena occurred while making this movie? Was it murder by way of this movie's curse? That people lost their lives around the time of making this film? Was it a coincidence that this film turned a major profit and was not considered schlock? Or was it an omen? All this and more will not be answered when you watch The Omen, but if you watch anything on The Omen, like documentaries and stuff about its curse, you might find some stuff very interesting and creepy. I love this movie. I was around 14 when I saw it. I watched this and part 2 all the time. Now that I'm older, I want to get more into the third installment, which was very boring to me back then. This was always my favorite out of the franchise. There's just something about it. It makes you confused and leaves you feeling dread, but the ending is so awesome you can't help but watch the trilogy. A well-crafted story which characters who are deeply disturbed and scared shitless about what is to come is what The Omen brings to the table. There's a level of impending doom that just looms over this movie. People who saw it back in 1976 had no idea if the characters would succeed or not. Now everyone knows that final shot and of the sequels. I always feel so bad for Lee Remick's character, Catherine. She is so oblivious to what is really going on. Despite all her feelings and thoughts, she is still left wondering. Gregory Peck's character, Robert, conveys so much emotion. At first, you'd think he'd be as convincing at conveying feelings as much as a news reporter from that era, or a rock. But as the film goes on, you can see his sanity, and even humanity slipping away as they get closer and closer to the truth. As I mentioned before, there is so much of a curse plaguing this movie, much like Poltergeist. It's pretty neat that people genuinely believe the devil himself did not want this movie to be made. Well, mostly just Richard Donner firmly believes that. Speaking of Richard Donner, who would go on to direct The Goonies and all 4 Lethal Weapon movies, his work on this movie is nothing short of risky. First of all, the subject matter, if not handled properly, could have easily been schlocky. Secondly, it's ambitious. It already has a pretty evil story, but throw in a gruesome decapitation that I'm surprised they were even able to get away with, and you've got a director with serious passion. Speaking of some of the gore and effects, this movie is actually quite bloodless, despite the severed head, and the violent fight near the end, there's not a whole lot in terms of gore. The effects are a mixed bag. The scene where a certain character falls was achieved by, I think, don't quote me on this, by having the actor or actress, I'm not spoiling this, well, you probably already know, pretend to fall by walking backwards, in a way that made her look like she was falling down. It looks kind of hokey and the scream is anything but convincing. It is actually kind of unintentionally funny, unfortunately. As for the decapitation, Richard Donner wanted audience members to not be able to shield their eyes for the horrific sight, so he had several different cuts for the severed head throughout the sequence. It makes for a ballsy, ambitious, and downright gruesome effect. You cannot escape that severed head. The musical score? Jerry Goldsmith won an Oscar for it, and I can see why. I feel this is what gives the film an advantage over what could have been a superior book. You can't picture The Omen without Goldsmith's score playing eerily in the background. It's made the movie 1,000 times more effective. The Omen would probably not be as highly regarded if it was not for that music. The story, violence, and music are all very sinister. There's just something evil about this movie. Richard Donner didn't want anything to be visually supernatural. He wanted it to be all up to one's opinion. Sure, I do wish certain things were dropped, or at least extended on, but I think it's a solid movie overall. Speaking of overall I give The Omen a 4.5 out of 5. I am Brian Gatto, host of Horror Show Entertainment. Make sure to like my Facebook page in the description below and to leave comments and subscribe.